Hi everybody, I'm just working on one of my FLU419s. This is a US military spec 419, which is very similar to a 406. It's also known as a small emplacement excavator, or a SEE. This particular unit, I was doing some maintenance work on it, and I thought, you know what, why don't I do a quick kind of startup routine with this, since that's what I've been doing. Most of my startup routines are actually for my customers who have purchased a vehicle, and I'm just giving them a quick rundown on how to start and stop the vehicle so they can get it off of a trailer and they can kind of move it around. So if they buy it from me remotely and I don't have a chance to show it to them, then I make those videos. But I thought I'd just do a video of this one as well. So let's just kind of jump in here. As I said, I was doing some maintenance work, so the doghouse cover is off, but that gives everybody the opportunity to kind of look at the engine. This is a 352, a Mercedes 352. This is basically a bulletproof engine. You kind of got the fuel system and the injection pump over there. It's naturally aspirated. It's pretty straightforward, pretty simple vehicle. So now we'll kind of do a rundown of what's inside this vehicle. As you can see, it's definitely different than the SBUs that I use. This one has if I kind of start over here, that's just the hazards. This has a starter motor, a starter motor, so you don't turn the key to turn the starter. Windshield wiper. The key on this one, I'll go over that a little more, but this one, on some of the 406s, the key actually is also the light switch. Not the case on this truck. I'll go over that later. So you got your miles per hour. This is a US spec vehicle, so it has miles per hour, not kilometers per hour. A note for anybody who's interested in these vehicles and who's interested in perhaps purchasing one, or who owns one and wants to know about how well it's been used. The miles are just not really an accurate gauge of how hard this vehicle's been used or how much it's been used, because these are equipment trucks. You've got the front loader and everything right there, so they spend a lot of time working and getting trailered to places, so they may not have a lot of miles on them, but they may actually have a lot of wear and tear on them. Also, something to take into account is if you see one with 100 miles on it, chances are that the speedometer has been changed. The US military changed these speedometers quite frequently. So I've seen some trucks with, there's an hour meter in the front of the truck, in the front of the engine. That's pretty accurate. And I've seen vehicles with thousands of hours and they have 125 miles. That just means that somebody swapped the speedo. They get changed whenever they recondition these. So this is a reconditioned truck right here. They very often change that. So don't necessarily go by the miles when you're looking at a speedometer on one of these vehicles. So you got the tach. This is a 352, so it basically tacks out at 2,800 RPMs. It's limited there. It'll hold that all day long. Sorry about that. And then you got the oil pressure. Again, this is in PSI. It likes to be above 45. At idle, it can kind of drop to 30-ish, but 45 to 75 is where they're a good engine's at. Temperature. This is a warning light for your brakes. There's another one for the park brake and the pressure. This is an air gauge. The SBUs also have an air gauge, but this air gauge is a little different. The two dials on an SBU are for the two tanks because it has two independent systems. This is different. This is showing you right there how much pressure is in the tank. The second needle is telling you how much pressure is in the air booster, how much boost you're giving. So for example, it's 0 now, but if I come over here, press, you can see it goes up, right? So I'm pressing the brake pedal and that's how much boost is being applied to the brakes. This is a 24 volt vehicle. So you've got a gauge here for your voltage. When I start it up, I'll mention a few things about that. This is like a tester, I think for part of the US military. you've got your gears here. So this is a 4-speed gearbox on this particular truck. It's called the 2x4. So this is, or 4x2, but it's not, this is a 4-wheel drive truck, but the gearbox is set up so that it's kind of like a conventional Jeep or Land Rover or Land Cruiser with high and low. So you have 4 speeds high, 4 speeds low, 4 speeds reverse, which is done with this handle. So right now we're in low forward, that's reverse, that's 4 high, 4 low, 4 high, reverse. In each one of those settings, you have 4 speeds. You've got on this one a PTO powered hydraulic pump, and this engages and disengages the pump. These 2 levers are for your front loader, and that's kind of the gauge is here. This cover panel right here comes off and gives you access to the gearbox if you need it. Again, the doghouse is off, so you have access to that. And basically that kind of gives a good generalization of what's going on. These are for the lights. So this is a U.S. military light setup. It's on a lot of military trucks. It's kind of a standardized thing that they use. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can put on various convoy lights and blackout lights and things like that. The one thing to take into account is when you're shifting and changing some of these to use the unlock feature on it. So don't try to force these because they're set so that you don't accidentally switch them. It's all pretty self-explanatory though. Again, the park brake, clutch brake pedal, and the hand throttle. And so the hand throttle on this is like on some of the other Unimogs that I've demoed, where this sets the idle and this sets if you're going to start it, it needs to be engaged because you need the minimum idle. So, you basically bring it up to a spot and then it starts. You can feel it. And when you shut it off by pushing it down. That's a fuel cutoff. So that needs to be set to its initial idle speed for the engine to start, and then it's pushed down to stop the engine. It's the same thing. The key does not stop the engine. This also has, we might even see again with the air, doesn't, but you can hear it. This is for the brakes, for trailer brakes. So if you got a trailer, you can use this to kind of stop the trailer independent of the brakes of the truck. It's a nice feature to have. You've got your high, low, the power's off, but that's your horn. So that kind of gives you an idea. You've got basically like a tilt meter here, and generally speaking, up to 10 degrees, 20% is not, you're within a safety zone. Once you start pushing it to 15, this is a top heavy vehicle. When it has everything on it, it starts to get a little squirrely. I'm sure someone out there will say that they got it at some insane angle, but really for the most part, you want to keep it under 15 degrees. So the general engine maintenance things, here's your antifreeze. That's the oil for the gearbox. Right there is the oil for the engine. It's all pretty easy to check. This doghouse comes off pretty quick. There are just some clips here that hold it into place, like right there. So anyway, what I'll do now is I'll start it. So what I do is always like to make sure I'm in neutral, in forward, because again, this truck can be parked in reverse as well by accident. When I do have a master power switch like this, I turn off the power all the time. On this one, this is like on a 406. This kind of key or whatever you want to call it comes out. You know that the power is off when you can remove it. Turn the power on. So this is just connecting the battery. This doesn't actually turn any of the power on. Then you get to the key. The key has like about 3 positions, and on older Unimogs, sometimes these are the lights. So you can turn the lights on in various circuits. On this truck, the lights are controlled by that. So now we have the ignition on, so to say, and you can hear there's a fan running in the background. That's a hydraulic cooler. So what I'll do, just to give an example, is right now that hand throttle is down. If I put my foot on the clutch, you need to put your foot on the clutch on this truck, just like on a lot of other ones. It doesn't start. You just hear it doesn't start. That's because it's got the fuel cut off. So you bring this up until you kind of feel it notch over there. And now we'll start it. And there you go. It's that easy. I'm in neutral. A couple things you'll notice here. The engine is running. The tachometer is not working. And there's a warning light on the alternator that the alternator's not kicked in. That's usually from slipping belts, so watch. And there you go. You just need to engage that and excite the alternator. Now the charge light's off, you've got correct RPMs. If your RPMs are doing weird things, that's either your alternator or you have belts that are slipping. You got your big aggressive horn. Basically, that's starting this truck, and now to stop it, all you do is take the hand throttle and cut it back. Turn off the key. And that is basically kind of a quick intro to the interior and controls and the start and stop of a FLU419. I hope you guys enjoyed it.